All right, good morning, guys. I am very, very tired this morning, so I hope that I can produce this video in a way that's understandable and relatable. So I'm grasping for straws here at this point because I'm just really having a hard time summing up the energy to do what I know I need to do today. And I hope that you are finding yourself in more energetic conditions than I am. So that's all I got to say about that. Today, I want to talk to you about how you stage your environment, the cues that are planted around you to remind you of what you need to do, the cues that you have around you to remind you of the people in your life, the feelings that others have for you, that you have for others, the cues that remind you of what you need to be doing. We have them everywhere. Every single one of us uses cues, these tangible reminders of what direction our feet are pointed in, where our interest lies, and where our feelings abide. Okay? But I don't think most of us really think about them, at least not in these terms. They're just kind of foregone conclusions. Uh, they just exist. We buy into them all the time. We use them constantly, and yet we don't understand the power of them. And in many cases, they work against us. And oftentimes, we're not using them when we ought to be, or we're using them in the wrong places or in the wrong ways. Or we could be reading them wrong altogether. Some of them are just completely, absolutely valueless. And so I want to touch on all of this, and I really want to challenge you with how you stage your environment for what you want in life, because it makes a huge difference. I think if we looked at people who achieved what they wanted in life, or if we looked at others who didn't get anything that they wanted in life, we could take a look at the cues they have in their environment, and we could say, if we really were really acknowledging it, we could say, it's not a wonder. It's not a wonder things didn't work out. It's not a wonder that they did succeed. Look what they surrounded themselves with. And we need to be conscious of that on a personal level also. So I've been reading a book called The Talent Code. It's a reread for me, so it's my second time reading it. And I didn't think I would get that much out of it the second time, but I'm actually getting more out of it. And this is one of the things that has triggered some thoughts for me. I was in a section and they were talking about primal cues and why orphans possibly rule the world. And they looked at a number of people, American presidents, dictators across the world, CEOs of companies, athletes, musicians, people who had excelled enormously in any given area, and a vast number of them were orphans. And what they boiled it down to was that the element of not feeling safe in this world served as one of the biggest cues to do something with their life. And this made me think further on the subject, because my mind really dwelled on that. I actually made a video about it. And then I kept thinking about this, and I thought, well, what are some of the other cues that we have? The absence of a parent staged the environment. That was their whole entire environment. There was no certainty. There were no promises. There was no reliance upon somebody else to pull through for you, and so those were not necessarily so tangible as intangible, but nevertheless, these things were at least present in their mind, weighed on them, and motivated them to do something. But what about the tangible ones? So I thought about this. I thought, well, this could go either way, positive or negative. And could planting cues all around us make a difference if we were absolutely intentional about it? What is it you want in life? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your ideas? What would you like to see happen? And what do you not want to see happen? And start intentionally planting things around you to make those things occur or not occur. You know, we all use cues, don't we? To remind us of things or people or of ideas. We all use them. We might use Post-it notes to say, hey, remember to do this. We make a punch list, a to-do list. These are things you need to get done before the end of the day. Or we put things on our calendar, right? We do all sorts of things to remind us. We plant our keys and everything that we need for the day before we walk out the door, right beside the door in a little box. I'm not saying you necessarily do that. I don't even necessarily. I have certain places I put things so I don't forget, right? Those are my cues. What are yours? We might arrange things in a certain way in our house so that we know where everything's at. We know how we want things, and nobody better touch them because it'll throw off the schematics of everything. And we're not very happy when that happens because we know this is how we stay on track. We use cues in relationships, in romantic relationships, and not even just romantic relationships. It could be just any kind of loving relationships between parents and children, between two adults who consider themselves lovers. It could be between friends who just do nice things for each other. Everybody knows that when you're in love, one of the things you do is you buy things for people, right? Or you make things for people. You give of your time. But let's talk about the tangibles. You buy things, right? So you buy knickknacks, you buy a card, you write letters, you hand them over to them. It says all these wonderful things that makes them feel all sorts of ways. And you buy, I don't know, you might buy these little statues or whatever the case might be, flowers. And these things are meant to be cues for other people so that every time they look at them, they think of you, right? And it's supposed to conjure up a certain kind of feeling and show them this is who loves you. It's your way of saying, I love you. Yeah, I love you. Don't you forget it. That's a cue. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all do that. We all do that. And by the way, if you're giving people these cues and they're not reciprocating, you might want to reconsider your relationship. If you're somebody who has given someone a lot of cues, not to manipulate. We all kind of manipulate. There's good ways and there's good manipulation and bad manipulation. So in love, we all do that. But for all intents and purposes, let's talk about this in the most meaningful way, with the purest of intentions. So we give people these things and these letters, these cards, these flowers, these knickknacks, and whatever the case might be. Maybe it's a vacation. It's a huge cue, right? It's a reminder. But if the person you're doing that to or with, if when you get to crunch time and things are tough and they can't look around and see things and allow it to be a reminder of how you feel about them, yeah, you might want to reconsider your relationship. It's not something you want to throw in their face and say, I bought you all this stuff. I did. You don't want to do that. You shouldn't have to do any of that. But if it gets down to the heat of the moment and it's just nowhere on the radar, they don't feel the same way about you. But moving on from that, we use cues all the time. And what I want to suggest is I'd like you to take some time to think about this deeply. Don't be all namby-pamby about it. Don't just think about it, let it go in one ear and out the other and go, oh yeah, I'll try to remember that. And no, really take the time to ruminate on this and ask yourself, what is it I want in life? Am I staging my environment instead of giving cues to other people, instead of just everything being intended for somebody or something else? What about me? What am I doing for me? What are the cues I'm giving myself that I'm working toward a particular goal, or that I'm really shooting for these distant stars? or that I've got my feet pointed in the right direction. What are my cues right now? Can I look around and see what they are? I can't say what that would be for you. Okay, so for instance, I like making YouTube videos. It's not easy. It's not always fun, but I have a goal, right? I have a goal. I had goals when I was playing the piano. I had goals and I was doing whatever it is that I wanted to do. But I always, if you really want to do something, I want you to think about this. Every time you really, really, really want to do something bad and you believe in something, you never had a problem planting objects, reminders, cues all around you that showed that this is what you think about all the time. This is what you want. But what I'm saying is we should do that to actually stimulate and motivate us intentionally. Instead of just happening to have ourselves surrounded with these things, we should intentionally plant things in our environment, stage our environment so that we are setting ourselves up. So for like going back to what I was saying, so I like doing YouTube. What are my cues? I always have my cameras out. I have multiple cameras, different kinds of cameras. One's on my phone that I'm shooting on right now. I have several different kinds of cameras in the house, but I always have them out where I can see them because just seeing them makes me want to use them. My books are cues. My books are everywhere. I have stacks and stacks and wax of books everywhere. Why? Because it reminds me that these things give me ideas. The things I read in them, I want to share with others. I have to get it out. I have to tell other people about these things. Okay, these are my cues. These are the things I really love. I don't just love them, I use them. I don't just use them, I want them to motivate me. I want them to remind me of what it is I'm trying to shoot for. I personally don't have a lot of unnecessary things around me that mean nothing. And this is one of the things I want to bring up, is that there's lots of people that have tons of objects around them that serve as cues that do nothing in the way of motivating them to accomplish anything. Because they're so focused on aesthetics. You ever notice this? You ever notice that people, they constantly buy things that make them feel good? You know, it's in the way of decor. But these are cues, but all they do is remind them about how they feel. They don't do anything beyond that. There's really no value beyond the fact that these things just make them feel good, but it's not motivating them to any one particular thing. It's not really propelling them. You know, there are people that just focus on aesthetics. I have a hunch that these are the people who are largely undisciplined, who've never really taken the time to think about exactly what it is they want or how to get those things. And it doesn't have to be things. It could be just a station in life. It could be you want to get somewhere philosophically in your journey. You want to get to a certain mindset, okay? And that is a goal. That is a goal, because it's not always about things. It's not always about places. It's not always about relationships. So, you know, it could be, I can't define that for you. It's very subjective. But there are plenty of people in this world. All you have to do is walk around your neighborhood and see how people focus on aesthetics. What's even more, if you go inside their homes, and you can tell where people spend their money. They spend it in decorating, over-decorating, and constantly adding more. And you look at their life and go, but what do they want? And they couldn't even tell you if you cornered them. And here's the funny thing is, they can never get enough. That's why they keep buying and keep buying more and keep buying more. They can never decorate enough. Some people do this with pets. They collect and collect and collect. And these are all cues about how they feel, but they don't do anything. They don't really help the individual. It's not a healthy staging of the environment. The things that you have around you, that you've placed around you, are they helping you or are they hindering you? But you have to ask yourself what it is you want. Where are you hoping to go? What's the long game? This is a serious thing to consider. It's a very serious conversation. I've given a lot of thought to it. I hope I'm articulating it correctly. My fear is I'm going to forget something absolutely pertinent to this conversation, and I'm going to remember it later on in the day. Doesn't mean I couldn't make another video about it, but you don't want to you don't want to beat a dead horse, right? And I guess I could have written things down, but this is one of those mornings where I feel absolutely exhausted. I know if I don't do this now, I won't get it done. But you know what? If I don't have cues around me constantly reminding me of what it is I really want, then I won't get anything done. Because that's what we do. We cave into our feelings more than we do into our rationale. Our feelings always win. We've got to have things in place that get us beyond how we feel at the moment. We have to have cues. And the thing is, we all have cues. We do. We all have them. We all stage our environment. But is your environment reflecting back to you what you want long term? Or is it only telling you about how you feel short term? And it's not hard to tell. It's not hard to tell where people are mentally by just looking at what they have around them. And what's going to happen is you're going to get to a point in life where you've gotten old enough and you're going to realize, wow, I don't know where the years have gone. I don't even know what I've done with them. Is it too late? I don't have much time. We never know if we have too much time, and it's never too late to start now. Think about what it is you want and start planting seeds around you. I don't even know if seeds is the right word to use, but start planting these cues that have something to do with what it is, but with whatever your objective is. Start planting these things around you that serve as a constant reminder this is what you're all about. Because we all do that anyway. We either do it to our benefit or to our decline. How do you stage your environment? You don't have to do YouTube. You can start your own business. You can work toward any number of things. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is your relationship. But I want to get beyond that. Most of us have no problems planting or staging an environment. We have no problem when it comes to love relationships. We have no problem doing that. I'm not saying we all do it the best or we're not all doing it correctly. We could all use some coaching. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is I really want to emphasize here is what about you? Because if you constantly live to stage the environment for another person, if I'm not saying you should never do that, but if you're always doing that, if you're doing it always for your spouse, if you're always doing it for your kids, I'm going to tell you something, they're going to let you down. They may never return that. In fact, I would say the more you give, the less they will give you in return. The more you love, the less you will be loved. Okay? And I don't like the saying that we should learn to love ourselves because it sounds so narcissistic. But there's at least a scintilla of truth to it. At least. To some degree or another, there's some truth to it. How can we apply that? Well, how much are you loving other people? Loving other people, but you're not getting the benefit from it as much as you could. At some point, you've got to realize you also have to take care of yourself. Not to the abandonment of everyone else. It's not that you should stop thinking about the people you care about so you can solely take care of yourself. It's not so that you can forget about your workplace and not care about the team and how they get ahead, but it's about how you can also get ahead and stage your environment for your benefit. Because if you're not going to be there for yourself, eventually you won't be able to be there for anybody else. And this is something that's going to hit you hard at some point or another. And another thing too, if the day comes when other people do abandon you despite everything you poured out, despite everything that you've given, everything that you planted in that environment, if they still peter out on you, at least you'll have this over here. At least you'll still have yourself. At least you'll still have your goals. At least you'll still have direction. But if you don't start staging your environment now, you'll have nothing eventually. And you'll watch people trot off into the sunset with no thought for you. And then you're left scratching your head going, what am I going to do now? If I would have known this was going to happen, I would have done this over here. Well, I'm serving this, right now, this video is serving as your cue to start setting things up in your life that constantly remind you of where you want to go, what it is you want, and start placing tangible things in your environment and say, yes, this is what it's about. This is what I want. This is where I want to go. This is who I want to be. And I think that it could be a real game changer for you. And every day I think about this, I think of another way of putting this that I think will be meaningful to you. But if I don't tell you soon enough, it'll slip from my grasp. And that's why I bring it up today. And now I actually feel better at the end of this video than I did at the beginning. I was really, really tired, exhausted. I didn't even want to do this. I didn't even want to do this. I was beat. I was, feeling negative. I have those days like everyone else does, and I have times when I feel better. But you know what? Having these cameras out and having my books out serve as a constant reminder. This is what you're about. This is what you want. When I go out into my garage, I see my power tower. It's a cue. Use me because it's good for you. So I work out and I feel better because ultimately that is really what I want. Some people have staged their environment. Have you seen these people that have these gyms in their home and they never use them? They become clothes racks. Yeah. Don't do that either. Don't do that either. Don't be so undisciplined that you get excited about setting things up and then never using them. That's a different conversation. But my point here is at least stop. Ask yourself, what are the things you want? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want your life to turn out to be? What's the long game? And think, what can I start planting around me? What are the cues I can look at? What's going to remind me of what I need to do? And start doing it. Okay? All right. I feel good about this video. I feel good about it. And I'm hoping that you feel good about it. I'm hoping it prompts you to do something more. And there's a lot of other videos you can watch besides mine that are probably better that will help you. And those serve as cues also. This is one of the good, thinking of that, this is one of the things that YouTube is really good for. They get a lot of crap about. The suggested feed list, right? So you watch a video that you're somewhat interested in, and that type of video gets suggested over and over and over again because it thinks that's what you like. So they're trying to encourage what it is you want. And so many people complain about that and go, I've done it too. They won't stop showing me these kinds of videos. I gotta search up something else just to get them off of that kick. But here's the thing. They're using their algorithm for something that is fundamentally good. I mean, that's their intention, at least, is to keep pointing you in the direction they think that you want. But you got to start doing that for yourself. Okay? You got to start doing it for yourself. Put things into play that perpetuate themselves, that constantly remind you of what you want. It could be little notes to yourself. It could be any number of things. I can't even begin to think of what it would be for you. You do that. All right. I don't want to run this into the ground, but I thank you for listening. I hope that you hit the like button, share this with your friends, and I hope to see you in the next video. All right, guys, enjoy your day. In the meantime, be wise.